All right, so I want to just talk. I'm a little bit flabbergasted right now about some of these bills coming out of California, but I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, let's think strategically here. Let's think logically here, okay? Because if you're trying to do something preemptively, you need to have the railroad and the infrastructure out there to make whatever it is that you're designing in the end come to pass in the future while you set the little breadcrumbs up in the present. And I know that sounds weird for me. I'm thinking I'm thinking out loud right now. I like to think out loud, and but I need to just present this to you, okay? The first emotion when you see something like SB 145, get passed by the legislature, and there's another one too that's about statutory rape and stuff like that. It's like there's um there's a means and a method in this duel that's happening in front of us that's interesting at best, terrifying is disgusting at the worst, but at the best it's interesting because you only would do these things, you would only pass these bills if you are trying to normalize something. But it goes beyond that. I think that something else here is happening. And again, I'm thinking out loud here, okay? We've seen an increase. I asked you guys, and I go back, I think it was yesterday or the day before, I asked you to post links about, kids being found, child traffickers being arrested, stuff like that. Please go back and just keep on posting stuff, because I think something's happening. And it would make sense to me if I was trying to make something normal, but there were a bunch of people getting caught up in the webs and the stings who are committing this heinous act against children. If I want to make it normal, I have to do everything in my power to make it legal and to introduce it into society via people who are obviously freaking sick and twisted, but they're in positions of power where they can legislate this absurdity into the American Civil California legal system, okay? So that makes me think, what if these people are actually trying to preemptively put things on the books so that in the future, if people are actually convicted of this stuff, they're let go, and the pedophilia is looked at as a lesser, despite what the main population of this nation would say, like, you're not supposed to be having sex with kids under 18, like you're a freaking, I won't even say what I think, okay? But it's like there's things you shouldn't do. But if you are that perverted, you want there to be a pathway for you to do your sexual deviancy so that it's legit, okay? And to do so under the guise of, we need to do this under equality. Remember, when the first words started coming out about equality, I remember thinking to myself, like, there's something else going on here. And a lot of folks thought the same thing as well too. And I thought that people might try to skew this, and I mean, we see it. But I want to pull you off of the emotions, because you might think to yourself, like, F California, yada yada. Well, we get to vote people in, and when people start talking about, it's like I want to see, like, I'll give you another example of projection. Okay, the other projection was mail-in voting. Okay, like everybody's like, yeah, you need to not hamper people from voting and stuff like that. But that universal mail-in voting is very different from absentee voting. But the way the media slanted that was just to make it sound like they were the same thing. They try to make Trump sound like he was saying something stupid by making a distinction, when in reality, no, there's actually two different things there. Well, the universal mail-in ballot voting, that's actually a piece of the voter fraud that happened here in California in our last election 2 years ago. So California tries to set the example and try to set the standard. So that makes me think, okay, if we're trying to set the standard in this state to allow for pedophiles to go unpunished for their pedophilia, and then we write legislation that allows it, this is something that they're actually wanting to press upon the nation. This is something that they actually want to do to make it legitimate. But I think that they're trying to do it while we're also arresting all these people who are being found to have trafficked minors who are sex offenders themselves, who are on the, Twitter or Facebook, they got these private groups and all that. It would make sense to me that they would try their best to push this stuff now before they're found out, so that later they're not held accountable for it. And this is what I call telegraphing, okay? Telegraphing is where, it's like, like you heard about it in football, like when a quarterback gets underneath a center, they're not supposed to look around. They're not supposed to look too far around. They're looking at the, linebackers are looking at the free safety, strong safety, looking at, the corners, how everybody's, lined up, but they can't shift their feet, because if they give away that it's a run, the linemen are going to know that. So anyway, I'll get off of it. But if you telegraph enough, you show your hand. I think they're showing their hand. And I think that these liberals, these progressives, are pushing something that they know the nation would never accept, but they have to do it slyly. And they have to get Gavin Newsom basically to approve this thing. Now, if he approves it, understand, okay? They'll be held to pay for that. I mean, that's just disgusting. But it means something for you and me. It means that when we have that it comes time to vote, if we allow these Democrats to keep the supermajority, these types of things are going to keep on happening. And we thought it couldn't get worse, but this is terrible. So I want you to get off of the emotional edge. I need you to think through this. If you allow these people to take control, they will hurt you, and they'll do things to you and your kids without regard for the repercussions later, because they're trying to, again, they're trying their best to normalize evil. And if you're allowing that, you participate in it. If you see it, you don't call it what it is, then you're responsible too. The use of minors for sex and the use of minors for sex trafficking, for pornography, you're talking about a different type of evil there. And this is the deal that most people don't know, is that once you cross that line, you can't go back. It becomes insatiable. It becomes something that you cannot walk away from, something that you cannot stop in yourself, which is why when sex offenders actually offend, they re-offend over and over again. There's actually statistics for that. So I'm thinking out loud right now. I want to just come off the emotional edge, and I want you to do the same. I need you to think through this, because you're on the couch right now, or you're on your phone, you're looking and you're seeing yourself like, what the hell's going on in California? Well, the people on that TV that are screaming, that are yelling, the people in the California and Sacramento that are allowing these things, they have ideas about society that are not the mainstream. They're pushing something that's destructive, that's evil. It's about kids. Understand, it's always about kids. Think about that.